There is a specific kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. It isn't the clean fatigue that follows a day of hard physical labor, nor is it the heavy drowsiness of a long journey. It is a hollow, heavy, systemic ache. It is the exhaustion of a day spent doing absolutely nothing that matters, in a space designed to convince you that everything does. If you ask modern workers why they are miserable, they will often point to workload, to compensation, or to their boss. But if you push past the immediate grievances, you arrive at a much older, quieter horror, a sense of profound, inescapable ennui. We tend to treat workplace boredom as a personal failing, a lack of discipline, an inability to focus, or just a bad mood. We treat it as a glitch in the machine of modern progress. The sociology and philosophy tell a much darker story. This boredom is not a glitch. It is the system operating exactly as it was designed. To understand how we got here, we have to realize that the modern cubicle is not a product of the 21st century. It is a secularized relic of the 4th century. In the 4th century deserts of Scetis and Nitria, early Christian monks isolated themselves in small stone cells. They were looking for hesukia, divine quietness. But in stripping away all societal distractions to confront reality in its purest form, they encountered a psychological horror they were entirely unprepared for. They called it acedia, meaning a literal lack of care or indifference. But the monks gave it a far more haunting name, the Noonday Demon. Evagrius of Pontus didn't just name this condition, he catalogued its exact psychological mechanics. In his treatise on the 8 Vices, Evagrius argued that acedia was the most oppressive of all thoughts because it attacks the soul's relationship to space and time simultaneously. Evagrius wrote that the demon makes the sun look frozen in the sky, stretching the midday hours into an unbearable infinity. Simultaneously, the demon instills a violent psychic repulsion toward the monk's current location, his cell, and his prescribed labor, whether that was weaving ropes or copying manuscripts. Evagrius observed that the monk is caught in a paralyzing paradox. He is utterly exhausted, yet physically restless. He feels completely empty, yet choked by a suffocating weight. The monk breaks down because his immediate reality refuses to offer him a reason to endure the next second. If you have ever sat at a corporate workstation at 2:15 on a Tuesday afternoon, watching a digital clock or a loading bar moving with glacial slowness, you are inhabiting the exact phenomenological reality of those 4th century aesthetics. In the 13th century, the great scholastic philosopher Thomas Aquinas stripped acedia of its demonic imagery, turning it into a rigorous structural analysis of the human soul in his Summa Theologica. Aquinas classified acedia not as a symptom of the body, like gluttony, but as a structural collapse of the spirit. He defined it as a profound sorrow or grief at the divine good. To understand Aquinas' exact argument, we have to look at his framework of human action. Aquinas argued that human beings are fundamentally wired for a telos, an ultimate inherent purpose. When we perceive something as genuinely good and meaningful, our soul experiences gaudium, spiritual joy, which naturally fuels our desire to act. But acedia occurs when a person is trapped in an environment where they can no longer perceive the ultimate goodness or meaning of their actions. It is a psychological mourning. The soul looks for the tasks it must perform, recognizes that they are stripped of any real value, and responds with a profound, paralyzing sadness. Aquinas noted that acedia inevitably produces what he called the straying of the mind and a psychological numbness. This is the historical blueprint of the modern workplace. The Enlightenment and architects of modern industrial society did something brilliant and terrible. They took the physical architecture of the monastery, the isolated cell, the rigid clock-bound schedule, the repetitive compartmentalized labor, and they secularized it. They built the modern office. But when they stripped away the religious mysticism, they did not replace the telos. They kept the cell, but they removed the heaven. In a modern corporate organization, you are locked in a room and told that your life's energy is deeply important because it optimizes a workflow or moves a decimal point on a quarterly review. But your psyche recognizes the deception. The modern epidemic of workplace boredom is not a lack of work ethic. It is a profound collective state of grief for the meaning we lost when we traded the chapel for the corporation. If the baseline reality of the modern organization is an empty, secular cell, how do we survive it? How does a society keep millions of educated human beings sitting in fabric boxes for 40 hours a week without them completely losing their minds to grief? Or perhaps some of them do. The answer was formulated in the 17th century, right at the dawn of the Enlightenment, by a mathematical prodigy turned philosopher named Blaise Pascal. Pascal, writing in his Pensées, made an observation that cut straight to the heart of the modern corporate workflow. He wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." To understand Pascal's exact argument, we have to understand his view of human psychology. Pascal argued that when a human being is left completely quiet, stripped of immediate tasks, a terrifying psychological mechanism activates. Without external objects to occupy the mind, the soul is forced to turn inward and gaze directly at its true condition. To save ourselves from the quiet room, Pascal argued that we invent divertissement, or diversion. This is a critical philosophical distinction. We do not pursue diversions because we genuinely value the object of the diversion. Pascal explicitly uses the example of a royal fox hunt. The king does not actually want the fox. If you gave him a dead fox as a gift, he would be insulted. What the king desires is the hustle and bustle of the hunt. He desires a highly complex artificial matrix of rules, competition, and physical exertion that completely consumes his cognitive bandwidth. The diversion creates a simulated universe where there is a clear goal, a clear metric for success, and no room for existential reflection. The Enlightenment took Pascal's critique of human weakness and turned it into an organizational management strategy. If a quiet room forces a human to realize the absurdity of their existence, then a modernist organization must ensure that no room is ever quiet. Enter the concept of performative busyness. Modern corporate culture has institutionalized Pascalian diversion as a mandatory metric of employment. Consider the modern phenomenon of the bullshit job, famously articulated by anthropologist David Graeber, or the endless proliferation of administrative tasks that serve no structural purpose. Why do we have meetings to plan meetings? Why do we require multi-layered approvals for entirely inconsequential documents? Why does the corporate world obsess over agile workflows, scrum masters, and daily stand-ups? It is because these are the modern equivalents of Pascal's rabbit hunt. They are highly rationalized, intensely structured diversions designed to generate digital noise and to provide management with a justification for its existence. The organization creates an environment where you are constantly bombarded by microtasks. You are checking the phone every 4 minutes. You are managing an inbox. You are filling out timesheets to account for the time you spent filling out other timesheets. The system utilizes your own existential fear of the quiet room against you. It gives you a fake game with fake rules and fake rewards, KPIs, performance tiers, corporate badges, so that you are willing to exhaust yourself. You are kept too frantic to notice that you are sitting in a secularized monastery cell, processing data that don't matter for an organization that doesn't care. The boredom of the modern workplace is not a passive absence of activity. It is an aggressive, highly engineered distraction from the void. But what happens when the diversion fails? What happens when you are clicking through the spreadsheet, and suddenly the illusion snaps. The corporate jargon stops sounding professional and starts sounding like a foreign language. The metrics look like arbitrary numbers. The game loses its power to distract you. When the diversion crashes, you fall into the deepest, most terrifying layer of boredom. To map this specific psychological terrain, we have to turn to the 20th century's most complex phenomenologist, Martin Heidegger. In his monumental 1929 series at Freiburg, published as The Fundamental Concepts of Metaphysics, Heidegger undertook a massive, brilliant anatomy of boredom. Heidegger argued that boredom is not just an internal psychological state or a fleeting bad mood. Instead, he classified boredom as a Grundstimmung, a profound, fundamental attunement of human existence. For Heidegger, our moods are the primary way we encounter reality. They reveal how we are situated in a world before we even begin to think logically. The German word for boredom, Langeweile, literally means a long time. Heidegger realized that in boredom, our relationship to time becomes warped and Latinized. He broke this down into 3 distinct escalating levels of depth. The first level is being bored by something, in German, gelangweilt werden von etwas. Heidegger uses the famous example of a person waiting for a train at a mundane, rural train station. The train is delayed by 4 hours. The traveler looks at the tracks, looks at the timetable, looks at their watch. To understand Heidegger's exact argument here, we have to look at his concepts of Leere, emptiness, and Hingehaltenheit, being held in limbo. Heidegger argues that in this state, the objects around us refuse to offer us anything to do. The train tracks and the station walls are completely indifferent to us. They offer no meaning. Consequently, we are left empty. Because we are empty, time itself changes. Time stops flowing naturally and thickens into an obstacle. We are held in limbo by a clock that refuses to tick faster. To fight this, we look for a Zeitvertreib, a past time, like pacing the platform or reading an advertisement. In the workplace, this is the simple boredom of a tedious task. It is the hours spent formatting a slide deck or waiting for a slow software program to render. The boredom is external, located in the object itself, and easily solved by picking up your phone. But Heidegger warns of a far more sinister second level, being bored with something, or in German, sich langweilen bei etwas. To illustrate this, Heidegger describes an evening party. You have been invited to a social gathering. The food is excellent, the conversation is polite, the music is tasteful, and you are thoroughly occupied the entire evening. You are not forced to wait for anything. There is no obvious delay. Yet, Heidegger notes, when you arrived home and look in the mirror, you realize with a sudden shock that you were profoundly bored. Why? Heidegger explains, in this second level, the emptiness is no longer coming from an external object like the train. The emptiness is coming from within. You were occupied by the party, but your core self, your unique human existence, was entirely disengaged. You allowed yourself to be swept up in a superficial public routine. This is the exact description of the comfortable modern corporate job. You have a good salary, perks, casual Fridays, and friendly colleagues. Your calendar is packed with meetings. You are occupied from 9 to 5. But at the end of the year, you look back and realize that your life has left no trace. You were entertained by the corporate routine, but your actual experience was entirely sidelined. You have been frozen in what Heidegger calls a state of formal stagnation. But it is the third level that represents the psychological ultimate end of the modernist office. Profound boredom, or in German, tiefe Langeweile. Heidegger says that this boredom doesn't look like waiting for a train, and it doesn't look like a polite party. It arrives when all specific objects fade away, and a single conviction forces its way into your consciousness. It is boring for me. Not this spreadsheet is boring, or this meeting is boring, but an absolute, universal indifference. In profound boredom, the entire corporate universe, the hierarchy, the career ladder, the corporate mission statement, the strategic goals, flattens out into a total meaninglessness. The objects around you don't just refuse to engage you, they completely recede. Time stops being a series of hours you can pass with distractions. Time becomes a single, heavy, unchanging weight that presses down on your chest. You realize that you are an organic being with a finite amount of time on this planet, and you have been spending it sitting under artificial lights, inputting alphanumeric strings into a machine for no human purpose. This is the ultimate horror of Langeweile in the rationalized workplace. The Enlightenment sought to use total reason, predictability, and efficiency to eliminate human suffering and chaos from the world. The goal was to design environments where everything was optimized. But Heidegger shows us the terrifying price of that optimization. When you eliminate risk, mystery, and genuine telos from human labor, you don't create a utopia. You create an environment of profound boredom. The modern workplace turned the elongation of time into a structural condition of survival. It forces you into a state where time is stripped of its quality, leaving only its agonizing quantity. When we look at the misery of the modern office, we are looking at the culmination of an intellectual trajectory that began centuries ago. The Enlightenment promised that absolute rationality would liberate humanity. It promised that by organizing a society like a machine, we could conquer scarcity, disease, and disorder. And in many ways, it succeeded. We built the machine, we optimized the spaces. We created an organizational structure capable of managing millions of people with predictable efficiency. But inside that triumph of reason lies a secular hell. By treating the human being as a predictable variable, an asset to be optimized, and a metric to be tracked, modernism built a jail of pure rationality. It took the physical form of a religious cell, stripped it of its spirit, and rebranded it as efficiency. We are not bored at work because we are lazy. We are bored because our humanity is staging a silent, desperate rebellion against the architecture of nothingness. We are experiencing the spiritual grief of Acedia, the desperate need for diversion, and the terrifying stretching of time that is Langeweile. The ultimate challenge of the modern era is not surviving the physical demands of labor, but surviving the psychological toll of its rationalized emptiness. Every time you stare at a corporate screen and feel that heavy, hollow ache, remember, your boredom is not a personal failure. It is the last remnant of your soul reminding you that you were made for meaning, not for metrics.